Hello and welcome to another video on the Fossil Hybrid HR. I've published 6 videos in this series and I've received lots of questions that I've tried my best to answer in the comment section of each video. I thought it might be helpful to collect the most common questions and answer them all here, so you don't have to go jumping from one video to the next trying to find a solution to your problem. Of course, if you have a question that I didn't get around to answering, please leave a comment below and I might include it in a future video. We'll start off with a big question about condensation. A lot of people were worried that the Hybrid HR will constantly fog up and that you wouldn't be able to see anything. I've had the watch for almost a year now, meaning I've worn it through hot summers, rainy autumns, snowy winters, and I've never experienced any issues with it. But I went for a walk a few days ago and I did notice that my watch got some condensation. Now, for reference, it was minus 20 degrees Celsius with wind chill, so it was pretty cold. You can see that there's some condensation at the top, and a few minutes later it had moved down to the middle, and it kind of stayed there for the remainder of my walk. A minute or two after I came home, the condensation quickly disappeared and everything is back to normal. There's no residue or droplets or damage or anything affecting the inside of the watch. I think it only happened because of the temperature difference, so I don't really see the condensation as a serious issue, but if anything happens, I'll make sure to post an update for you. On a slightly related note, Jorge wanted to know if the display was bright enough to be seen easily outdoors. So I made sure that the watch was grubby and had my fingerprints all over it as well as the condensation, and you can see that the display is still pretty clear whether it's in the shade or in the sun. The only time you might have trouble is when there's a light shining directly on the glass, like if you angle it towards the sun. I've got a light shining down on this table, so if I angle the watch like this, you can't really see much because of the reflection and the camera starts freaking out as well. So aside from direct light on the glass, the display is super easy to read, especially outdoors. Another viewer wanted to know what the glow-in-the-dark hands look like. I've got the blinds open and it's fairly cloudy outside, but you might be able to tell that the hands are glowing a tiny bit. This is what they look like in the evening with the lights turned off, and this is what they look like in complete darkness. Of course, how bright the watch hands are depends entirely on how long they've been exposed to a bright light. Also, keep in mind that not all models of the Hybrid HR have glow-in-the-dark hands, so definitely make sure you pick the right one if this is a must-have feature for you. James wanted to know if there was a way to turn the Hybrid HR's light on. There's an option in settings that allows you to enable or disable the front lights. Once you've got it enabled, you can tap on the glass twice to turn them on. They're just 4 LEDs hidden in the corners and they're not super bright, but they get the job done. If you don't want your fingerprints all over the glass, you can also double tap the side of the watch to get the same effect. And if you're feeling particularly creative, if you're wearing the watch and you snap your fingers twice, you can get the lights to turn on without even needing your other hand. It takes a bit of practice to figure out the right timing, but when you get it working, it looks pretty cool. And just for your reference, this is what the lights look like in pitch black darkness, so you can see that they light up the full display and all your information is easily legible. Caleb and Marjorie wanted to know if there was a way to get a digital clock on the Hybrid HR. Unfortunately, there is no official digital time dial that you can add to your home screen, but there is a workaround if you use the second time zone dial instead. By default, this dial shows you how many hours ahead or behind of you the second time zone is. For example, I'm in Toronto and my second time zone is set to London, which is 5 hours ahead, and you can see that the dial shows me plus 5H. But when I flick my wrist, it shows me the current time in London, which is 7 PM. And it will stay like that for about 20 seconds until it goes back to showing me the hourly difference between time zones. So if you want to get a digital clock on the Hybrid HR, all you have to do is set the second time zone to be the same as yours. To do that, head to your customization screen, tap that gear icon so you can edit the watch face, and then head to the dial options. I'm in Toronto, so I'm going to change the second time zone to Toronto, and you can see it immediately shows me the current time because it's syncing with my phone. After about 20 seconds, the dial should show plus 0H to let me know there's literally no difference between my time and the time in my second time zone. So you can see that it says plus 0H, and if I flick my wrist, it shows me the current time in a digital format. That is probably the easiest way to get a digital clock on the Hybrid HR. On a similar note, Shubhendu wanted to know if it was possible to set the Hybrid HR's time to be different from the time on your phone. Unfortunately, there is no official way to do that either, because as soon as you change the time on your phone, the Hybrid HR almost instantly updates to match. If I set the time to, let's say 10 o'clock, you can see it just updates on the Hybrid HR. I don't even have to open the Fossil app or manually sync it, it just automatically adjusts the time. But like with the previous question, there is a workaround for this situation. Let's say you want to set the watch to be 1 hour and 30 minutes ahead because you always want to be super early. So for this, you head to the calibration settings. The watch will ask you to set both hands to the 12 o'clock position to make sure that they're properly aligned. What you can do instead is set the hour hand to be 1 hour ahead and set the minute hand to be 30 minutes ahead, like this, using the little arrows on the screen. Now I'll click OK, and you can see that even though the time is currently 10:01, the Hybrid HR shows me the time as 11:31, which is obviously an hour and 30 minutes ahead. If you combine this workaround with the second time zone dial trick I showed you earlier, you can see what the actual time is without having to do any mental arithmetic in your head. The only downside with this workaround is that when you're in a menu or reading notifications or something, the watch hands will end up blocking some text because they're not properly calibrated. But if you really need your watch and phone to have different times, this is probably the easiest way to do it. There seems to be an issue where people aren't getting notifications even though they've enabled them in the Fossil app. One reason for this might be because your Do Not Disturb settings are set to mirror phone. After the 4.6 update, I think the Hybrid HR automatically activated this setting for a lot of people, even though it is absolutely useless. So to fix your notification issue, open up the settings menu on the watch, set Do Not Disturb mode to always off, and hopefully you should be getting notifications again. Similarly, Evan, Tiffany, and WeFan had an issue where they couldn't see the dials on the watch face. A lot of people have been having this issue as well, and if you've got the same problem, try long pressing the top button. That's a quick way to show or hide your dials. You can also do it by long pressing the middle button, jumping into settings, and then going to the end of the list to dial info. You can choose to hide or show the dials here, although it is a much longer way to do the same thing. Maz wanted to know how to charge the watch since it doesn't really come with an adapter. It's a USB cable, so you can plug it into your phone's charger or into your computer or even into a power bank like the one I've got here. The other end of the charger connects magnetically to the watch like this, and you can see I've got a little notification letting me know that it's now charging. When it's charged, you just lift up the watch again, and that's it. Dennis and Ante wanted to know if Mandarin Chinese and Croatian show up without an issue on the Hybrid HR. For Croatian, I sent myself the alphabet in a text message, and it turned out like this. All the letters seem to be okay, and they're showing the proper accents as well. For Mandarin, I sent myself this message, and it seemed to be displayed properly as well. If there are any other languages or phrases or even emojis that you'd like to see tested out on the Hybrid HR before you decide to buy one, send me a message and I can show you what it looks like in a follow-up video. On a related note, Timo wanted to know how to change languages on the Hybrid HR. So there's no way to actually do that through the Fossil app, but it automatically matches whatever your phone language is. So if I change my phone's language to French, the Hybrid HR automatically changes the day from Sat for Saturday to Sam for Samedi, which is French for Saturday, or it would be if I pronounced it properly. And you can see that all my menus and settings are in French as well, and so is the Fossil app on my phone. Sean was interested in the Find My Phone feature. So if you head into the main menu and go to this thing called Ring My Phone, your phone will sound an alarm to let you know where it is. It works even when your phone is on silent or Do Not Disturb and all your volume sliders are set to 0. The phone automatically turns the alarm sound up to maximum when you're searching for it, and then when you stop ringing it from the watch, it puts the alarm sound down to around 30%. There's a reverse feature to find the Hybrid HR using the Fossil app on your phone, but it's not particularly useful because the watch doesn't have any speakers, it doesn't have a built-in GPS, and it doesn't even vibrate when you're searching for it. The app just shows you a map of the last place your phone was when it synced with the Hybrid HR. So if you've accidentally lost a watch somewhere in your kitchen, for example, the app won't really help you find it, it'll just tell you that the last place it was in your house. Steve wanted to know if the 4.6 update worked with all Hybrid HR models. As far as I know, yes. It should be available on all models. On a related note, Bhavya asked if there's a new Hybrid HR coming out, and Vida wanted to know when the next software update will be released. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea. I have no connection to Fossil or knowledge of their product release cycle or anything like that. I'm literally just a guy who enjoys reviewing things. All I can do is share my experience of owning the watch with you, but I can't really give you a definitive answer about anything Fossil will do in the future. Steve was asking about how to change temperature units from Fahrenheit to Celsius. You can do that from the Fossil app on your phone. Head into the profile section, scroll down to preferred units, and then pick whichever one you want. You can change units for height, weight, distance, and temperature. Nyaka or Nyaka, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, asked if the Hybrid HR would work even if the phone's Bluetooth is off. It can, but there is a limit to what it can do. So without a Bluetooth connection to your phone, the Hybrid HR still tracks your steps, it can measure your heart rate, and it can track your sleep. The timer, stopwatch, and move alerts all work normally, and so do any alarms that you set through the Fossil app before you turn the Bluetooth off. But other things, like getting a notification or controlling the music on your phone, checking the weather, commute times, none of that will work without Bluetooth. And if you're using the Hybrid HR to track a walk or a run, for example, it will only count your steps. It can't actually see where you're going because it needs the phone's GPS to be able to track your movement on a map. Also, the Hybrid HR needs to connect with your phone at least once every 14 days, otherwise it won't be able to sync all the steps and heart rate and sleep data that it's been tracking. So if you want to keep the phone's Bluetooth off, just remember to turn it back on again every 2 weeks so the Hybrid HR can sync. Then you can turn it back off again. And that brings me to the end of this Q&A video. Thank you all for the fantastic questions so far, and I hope you found my answers helpful. If you have any more questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you and your family are safe and well wherever you are in the world. This has been Zaeem Siddiqui from Zeus Reviews. Over and out.